So Heim hit a homer and we hit the record button.
Yeah.
It's 11-1 right now in the eighth inning. Transparency alert. We started recording in the eighth inning of game 4 of the World Series. Jack and Peter on the Just Baseball show. Happy November. Hope your Halloween was great. Because the baseball, unfortunately, was not great last night. We've got a lot to get to. I'm going to take you through my notes in a different way. It was game 4. I did 4 things on each team in an ode to game 4. So I've got 4 Texas takeaways and I've got 4 Diamondbacks takeaways. And I think we're going to snake it. It'll be, 1 Rangers, 1 D-backs, 1 Rangers, 1 D-backs, because the 4th takeaway for both of them are preview-esque. So we can get into that. But before all that, we have a certain someone that we got to shout out, or some book that we have to shout out.
Have you ever heard of the king of sports books? We are brought to you by BetMGM. Sign up and deposit into your newly created account using promo code JustBaseball. Download the BetMGM Sports app on iOS or Android, or visit BetMGM.com. Place your first bet offer and receive up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if it loses. If that bet does lose, your bonus bets will be available once the wager is settled. Gambling problem? Call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 21 or older, and terms and conditions apply. You texted me and you said, I'm going to run you through my notes a little bit differently. And I didn't know what that means. Classic Jack fashion, pressing the record button and just throwing me out in the ocean. I might get eaten by a shark or two, but it's okay. I'll make it. I'm a wordsmith. I'm a ball knower. But I am very excited to hear your takeaways on the Arizona Diamondbacks, because this is a big kick in the nuts.
It's not great what we're seeing. Like Merrill Kelly was the highlight of the World Series, I think, at this point. That outing was so much fun because it was, hey, I didn't think this was going to happen against the Texas Rangers. Ketel Marte has been a ton of fun. The guy's sporting a 20-game hitting streak to open his postseason career. There are several positives, and I'll try and spin one of them in a positive way, but this was an overwhelmingly negative game for the Arizona Diamondbacks. And I didn't want to do it sequentially like we typically do, because if we did it sequentially, we'd stop talking about the game after the 3rd, after the 4th. It's tough. Like, you miss half the game. So I think overarching takeaways, because I'm not going to be bringing you Brock Burke getting Ketel Marte to fly out to center in the bottom of the 8th inning. I'm just not going to be doing that.
Brock
so I've
Burke,
got
new addition to the squad, Brock Burke. You don't want to talk about that?
No, I think we're good. Okay. Brock Burke and
fine.
Ezekiel Duran. They were showing Burke and Duran in like a split screen. And if you say, guys, why are you recording in the 8th inning? Well, the Fox crew eulogized the game in the 5th.
Yeah.
I mean, like, top of the 5th inning, they did a game 5 preview, and you wrote that down?
I wrote that down. I was like, the game ended in the 5th inning like Smoltz said it did. I was like, does Smoltz even enjoy being here? I mean, come on, man.
They're a really good crew, and Joe Davis is one of the best in the business. And I just wrote down something he said, because I was like, wow, not often do you get to say this in the 5th inning of a World Series game. He said, quote, if the Diamondbacks can keep this thing going, they'll send Merrill Kelly to the mound in game 6 in Arlington. Can keep this thing going after he previewed Nathan Eovaldi and Zach Gallen in game 5 tonight. So he's saying, well, the Rangers are already up 3-1. If Gallen can steal a game at home, then they go to Kelly in game 6. And I was like, wow, you don't say that if it's an 8-run game, but it was 10-0 at the time. And it's just, that was a tough pill to swallow. Now, thankfully, we had some guys that, bridged to the back innings that were not enjoyable, but they did a good service for their teams. Ryan Nelson was good to watch, and Nelson, hopefully there's some momentum here that he takes into the regular season. Heaney was huge, and that's my first take. Well, I'll elaborate on that in a minute, but when did you kind of decide, like, yeah, this thing was donezo?
When Miguel Castro came in the 2nd inning.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I wrote in our Just Baseball group chat, I tweeted it out, and I'm not some genius for saying, well, Miguel Castro is in with a runner on second base and no outs. How many runs is he going to give up? 7? It wasn't quite 7, but I think it was 4. And another time I wrote that the game was over. If Christian Walker is making errors, that the game is over. First error of the series for him. But here's exactly what I wrote down. Castro is coming in, will allow multiple runs, hopefully not more for the Diamondbacks. No idea why Lovello decides that he's the guy to come in with a runner on second and no outs. And then my next point was Moreno has to block that ball. But I really want to talk about the decision to bring in Miguel Castro, because it was one thing, too. You're letting Joe Mantiply get another out against Josh Young, who obviously hits left-handed pitching really well.
Really well.
So I could understand you going to Castro there, but what sparked the confidence from what we've seen from Miguel Castro this series to say, in a game that is a relative must win, of course, they're all must win, but you're down 2-1, you gotta win this game. Could have gone to Saul Frank, could have gone to Thompson, right? Look, we got to keep the score down if we want to score in this game. But that just felt like they threw in the towel there, and I just couldn't understand it. And it is not one of those things where, oh, look at me, I'm saying it wasn't a good move right after he gave up 4 runs. Like, I texted in the group chat, I was like, this is going to be a disaster.
We have to think about it in a unique way, because even when the Yankees...
How sad is that for a second? We have to think about it in a unique way.
Yeah, no, it stinks.
The World Series.
It stinks. It's game 4 of the World
Series.
But hear me out on this. Do the Yankees ever use an opener? I'm kind of blanking on that. Clark Schmidt was a hybrid.
Well, Michael King started as an opener and then developed into the greatest starting pitcher on the Yankees. Yeah.
King. Yeah. So King was the hybrid, but King would work like 3 innings. They never really went with the true bullpen game, but the true bullpen game in the regular season is much different than a bullpen game in the postseason. And what we saw the Diamondbacks do in the CS when they opened with Mantiply was, I think, use 8 pitchers in 9 innings. They were never going to have a long man if things went according to plan. And that's my first Arizona takeaway. I'll start with Arizona. I'll go like negative, positive, negative, positive. Here's what I wrote verbatim. The bus with one side is rolling meadows and the other is dark mountainous terrain meme. You know what I'm talking about? Where you got one side where somebody's having a great time looking out the window and the other side where somebody's having a terrible time looking out the window. So the great side looking out the window is this. You get a different look each time an opposing hitter steps in for their second, third at bat. That's the benefit of a bullpen game. You get a different look every single inning. You've got 8 guys, 8 different looks. But the side where it's rainy and gross and rocky is this. Everyone needs to do their job. You're relying on 8 guys to do their job effectively, and you are relying on the bottom of your pitching depth chart. You have 13 pitchers on your roster, maybe 14. You've got 13 pitchers. You have to rely on at least 2 of 10 through 13 on your pitching depth chart if you were to power rank all your pitchers, because your starters are going to be, front loaded. Your closer is going to be, front to middle. And then you've got the relievers that you have to rely on in a bullpen game at the very bottom. And guess who those guys are for Arizona? They're Miguel Castro, Luis Frias, and Kyle Nelson. And all 3 of those guys did not have it. You had to rely on them at some point. That point came early. And when somebody doesn't have it in a bullpen game against the Texas Rangers in the World Series, it's game over.
Yeah, I'm surprised that, they even brought on a guy like Miguel Castro instead of bringing Slade Ciccone or going to Ryan Nelson, right? One of my takeaways that I wrote down is one of the more underrated storylines until he, of course, gave up a run, because that's how this game went, that home run to Jonah Heim. But he was dealing 3 2/3, I think, of no-hit baseball before. To be completely honest with you, I kind of checked out mentally of who got the base hit off Ryan Nelson. I'm sorry to the fans of the Just Baseball show. If you watch the game, you know what I'm talking about. But there was a base hit against Ryan Nelson, but he pitched relatively well. Like, I cannot understand why they went to Castro. Everyone knew it too. It wasn't, again, it's not like I'm some genius. Lovello, dude, he comes in on the and gives up the walk-off home run to Adolis Garcia, first batter he faces. He's not. Yeah, I got nothing.
It's a tough pill to swallow, but
just sad because this is the freaking World Series. And
yeah.
like, besides game one, this series has just been not all that entertaining. And the fact that in like a pivotal game like this, we get a freaking crazy blowout, it's depressing. I was really excited for this game. I hyped it up on yesterday's show. I'm like, this is going to be a battle of managers, and what we're left with is just, and I'm happy for Rangers fans. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, for sure.
This is amazing. But like, I think even Rangers fans would understand, like, the rest of America watching this game is just depressed.
Here's the sad news. Ratings are down. Ratings are as low as they've ever been. 2016 was sky high. 2016, I think, was double the viewership that 2023 is getting right now. 22.8 million people was the average World Series viewership in 2016. 2017, 18.9, 14.1, 13.9 the next couple of years. 2020 was 9.8. Then it climbs 11.7, 11.7, and now 8.5 so far in the front four games, or the front three games, and we'll get the overnight. It's probably the same thing here. That's per Front Office Sports. So, yeah, I mean, like, it stinks from a national audience, but I will push back a little bit. Game 2 was enjoyable because of the Merrill Kelly thing. Game 3 was a 2-run game. It was a 3-run game. It was, good baseball until the 9th. This was the one clunker that we've got, and it, by all accounts, was a clunker. Now, shifting to my first Texas takeaway, the positive out of a clunker is when the guy that you are relying on to give you 3 innings gives you 5 innings. Heaney working as long as he did was so ridiculously important for the future of this series, for the game tonight, game 5, and then game 6 and 7, if they do get there. Bochy knew he could get 80 pitches out of Andrew Heaney, but did they turn into high leverage pitches? Because if they did turn into high leverage pitches, he was going to take the ball from Heaney. He was throwing low leverage in the second inning onward. Yep. It's a unique case. Being up by a ton, you're sending far and away your fourth option to the hill. But what Heaney allowed Spores, Chapman, and Leclerc to do was mentally get back to the hotel in the 5th inning. They were still there. They were still physically there in case shit hit the fan. But, I mean, they can, like, check out and say, okay, I'm good. My heart rate can stay low. I don't need that, cup of coffee at 10 p.m. Eastern that I typically have when I throw the 8th or 9th inning. I can just chill tonight. I can get that day of rest, and I can come out guns blazing tomorrow night. And Heaney going 5 in a stress-free way was magic for Texas.
Yeah, I'm really glad you mentioned that, because I wrote down that Andrew Heaney giving this team innings was huge. And then going to Dunning, then going to Bradford, right? None of the high leverage guys, a lot of the guys who were there to soak up innings potentially in one of these types of games,
and now we got Stratton. We got Stratton in the 8th.
Exactly. We got Stratton right now. And, bases are loaded. Bottom of the 8th.
Tommy
Pham at 8
They're
over.
Building the statue over. Next week.
Sarah Langs dropped this stat. 10 runs through the 3rd inning was the most through 3 innings in World Series history, only behind the Arizona Diamondbacks in 2001 in Game 6 against the Yankees, and in Game 6 in 1968, the Tigers had 12. So it's the 3rd most in World Series history. And I found this. I looked it up on the internet. Props to me. Largest World Series win is the Yankees beating the New York Giants 18-4 in the 1936 World Series. We're not quite there yet.
One. I remember that one. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we were all alive for that one. We all remember the New York Giants.
Man. Props to you. Did you use Bing, Google?
Okay. It's 11-2.
Yeah. Sack fly. Tommy Pham. Shout out him.
Okay.
So you're saying there's a chance. Did you use Bing? What's your preferred search engine? Is there a third search engine?
Are we really that down bad as a podcast right now?
No, we're good.
About the search engine to find the fucking stat. I use
no,
Google like
we're
a
good,
person.
Man. Okay, thanks for answering the question.
I'm just upset. I
get it.
I'm completing like a toddler.
Okay. Guess what? We typically start recording at 11:30. It's 10:50. We're fine. We're fine. Second Arizona takeaway. Scoreless offensive halves after the 5-run second and the 5-run third was like the ultimate death sentence. If they got one back in one of those innings, in the bottom of the second, bottom of the third, you're the king of like, you better wait and see. Like, yeah, you never know. It's the World
No,
Series.
the
Like,
game was over before the Rangers even scored. The game was over when Castro came in with a runner on second. I was like, yeah, Jack, let's record now. Let's record at 8:15 p.m. Eastern.
dude, I mean, I hear you on the Castro. I hear you on the Kyle Nelson. And I had that inkling, but there's still that thought in the back of your mind, the anything can happen thought. Speaking of which, Lourdes Gurriel just went yard 11-5.
11-5.
Okay.
Not a blowout. It's a
They're
great
still
game.
Getting more than doubled right now.
We're back. We're back.
Are we sure? This is a
I don't know.
momentum piece
Yeah.
to this.
I mean,
but man, like, I don't know. The thought of anything could happen was in my mind, and it was fleeting after a scoreless bottom of the second. But after the scoreless bottom of the third, I was like, all right, pack it in. It was just that kind of night.
yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. There was a couple of other times where I said, if a team is hitting for the cycle against you in one inning, game's probably over. The Rangers hit for the cycle in the second inning. You got Josh Young on a double. You got Travis Jankowski on a single. You got Marcus Semien on a triple. And you got Corey Seager on a home run. I also wrote this down. I think I texted in the group chat check. Marcus Semien is up with runners on second and third. And I think it was a 3-2 pitch. And if you're watching Castro, he shakes off Moreno. And maybe it was an auto shake. Like, I don't know. Maybe he just gave him the shake sign to throw off Semien. But I was like, oh, if Castro's choosing his own pitches on top of it, immediate hit. And then an immediate triple. Then it gets pulled. And I'm like, what are we doing here? Not only are you Miguel Castro, but you're shaking off Moreno.
Yeah.
So the game was over multiple times. But then again, Rangers just got out of it. It's 11.
Yeah, they did. Second Texas takeaway, jumping back to the positive. Corey Seager is inevitable.
Barry Bonds.
And you elevate that feeling of inevitability as soon as Adolis Garcia is done, as soon as he hits the IL and Ezekiel Duran replaces him.
Who needs him? Travis Jankowski forever. Dude's awesome.
Dude, you're spoiling stop spoiling my third takeaway. Oh my gosh.
Sorry. This is a disaster. This is all a disaster.
Pod ruin. Let's restart. Seager's inevitable, especially with Adolis out. But Marcus Semien lifted a gigantic weight off of his shoulders and a gigantic weight off Rangers fans' shoulders with that 2-run triple. And why not follow with the bomb to make it a 5 RBI day in the third inning? The triple and the homer factored into his OPS. What do you think that 2-for-2 start elevated his OPS to in the postseason?
I know his OPS going into this game was below 500. I'm going to say it bumped him up 100 points.
599 was his OPS after the triple and the homer.
Wow, I nailed that. Good for me. Props
Killed
to
it.
Stat guy.
Podcast back on track now.
We're on track.
We're back on rolling. But Semien, like, I don't know. Yes, it's a next man up thing. I thought Mookie Betts had a good point. He was asked on the pregame, if you're in a clubhouse, how do you deal with a star who's playing like a superstar right now at Adolis Garcia, kind of leaving the fold and not being a reliable piece in the cleanup spot? He's like, well, you can't really do anything about it. Like, somebody's going to step up. You don't know who, but somebody is. And it's the guy that was the runt of the litter that happens to be an $175 million man and one of the best run producers in baseball over the last 3 seasons.
I did see something funny on Diamondback's Twitter. Corbin Carroll and Mookie Betts were having a lot of conversations, and they were like, Mookie just rubbed off on Carroll, hasn't gotten hit in a couple of games. I thought it was mean. It was a mean thing to say. Mookie Betts is still a legend. No, but yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree with you more with that. Semien getting started is what changes this Rangers juggernaut offense from 4 to 5 runs a game to 11, right? Because if he's rolling, if he's driving in runs, he's one of the best hitters in the American League this year. So you then add him into the fold. And we've been talking about this all World Series. If Christian Walker gets going for the Diamondbacks and Marcus Semien gets going for the Rangers, those are the big X factors. Christian Walker, I was hoping that he would carry over this momentum, but instead, Marcus Semien carried over the momentum.
As Seager rips a double. Okay. We've shined enough light on Semien let's jump to Seager. I'm running out of unique takeaways on Corey Seager. I don't think there's a unique perspective left on Corey Seager. He just happens to be super good at this sport that they're playing right now on Fox.
I just watched that double. It just came up my screen against Ryan Nelson. Like, that was just roped. And that was a fastball down the middle. I know, like, you're challenging him or whatever, but I mean, why are we pitching to him? Kyle Nelson, why are we pitching to him? You got a runner in scoring position. You can just easily walk Seager. That's why, if you remember, one of my biggest bets of the postseason game 2, which fucking lost, was Corey Seager over a walk. And because I thought that they would pitch around him. They still haven't this entire series. They just haven't learned.
Well,
and right now
he hasn't been a hit accumulator this series. It was 3 hits, all 3 were homers.
Yeah, I guess he hasn't been a hit accumulator, but still, he's the guy to now do the damage, especially with Adolis Garcia out. Of course, that's a dumb point because the rest of the lineup is insane, but at least you could target that guy and say, don't let him beat us. It's like facing the 2012 Heat, where you got to say, at least don't let LeBron beat us. Like, if Wade and Bosch beat us, they do it, and they did it anyway, but at least don't let LeBron beat us. I mean, this is that offense right now. It's an angry LeBron after losing to the Mavericks, combined with D Wade and Bosch looking for chips. Like, they're just hungry and they're just going to destroy any team in their wake. One more point about Corey Seager. That home run that he hit in this game, 19 career postseason home runs. That places him second in postseason history among shortstops. Number 1 is Derek Jeter with 20. So if Seager hits another one tomorrow, he'll tie Jeter. Probably hits 2 now that I'm thinking about it. And then Carlos Correa with 18. Like, Corey Seager is one of the best players in the league. And he just keeps highlighting it every single time he gets to the postseason. And I like, too, how, there's a lot of people out there who discredit the 2020 season and whatever. I don't care. I don't, but you can if you want. I ain't going to lose sleep over it. But the fact that he comes back and then does it again in a different uniform and just becomes an annihilator of baseballs, this guy's worth every penny of his $300 million contract.
Bingo. 2020, NL wild card, 2 games, 821 OPS. 2020 NLDS, 3 games, 1012 OPS. NLCS in 20, 1230 OPS. World Series in 20, 1256 OPS. He had a down postseason in 21, but 23 wild card series, he was 5 for 10 with 3 doubles.
Pretty good.
625 with a 1700 OPS in 2 games. 3 games in the DS, he had a 1567 OPS. He was 2 for 6 with 9 walks and a homer. CS, 819 OPS. He was slumping a little bit.
That's a slump for him.
Yeah, and a 952 OPS in the World Series in the front 3 games. That jumps over 1,000 now with his game 4. This guy in his postseason career is OPSing right around 880. That's so incredible.
What's his career OPS? Just in the regular season?
In the regular season, he's an 873. So the fact that he sustains that level
and gets
everybody's numbers go down in the postseason.
Because you're facing the best pitching in the biggest moments. So they're pitching around you if you're the best player too.
If you keep your season average, that means you are a great postseason performer, and Corey Seager is a great postseason performer. Got 2 more takeaways each side. 4th for each side is a preview. 3rd takeaway for Arizona. Ketel Marte, man, craving consistency from 2 through 4 because 1 has been so good. And 2 through 4 is Corbin Carroll, Gabby Moreno, Christian Walker. Moreno got off to such a hot start. Carroll got off to such a hot start. Walker has been cold all postseason. But Carroll is tapered off big time. Moreno has tapered off offensively. Yes, he's supplying the big hit every now and again. And Walker had a good game 3. So why go to Saul Frank here in a 6-run game? First pitch, he plunks Carter on the wrist. I don't know why you do this here, but whatever. I wish that there were a couple of like Robin types on a nightly basis, because Ketel Marte has been the most reliable guy in the postseason. You could argue more than Seager, because Seager will go through stretches where he doesn't hit a homer. Marte, 20-game hitting streak in the postseason. He looks so comfortable. Do you remember off the dome like somebody that looks this comfortable in a postseason?
Corey Seager. I mean, that's
in
it.
20 or right now?
I mean, you don't have an answer because it's historic, right? You just don't have an answer. Nobody has done 20 game hit streak. Like Jeter and Manny Ramirez and Hank Bauer at 17. This guy's at 20 and just blowing through those. And this is to start a postseason career. He has never played in a playoff game where he didn't get a hit. So we could say, well, Seager looks as comfortable, or Jordan looks as comfortable, or any of the best players in Major League Baseball looked comfortable. Bryce Harper. No, literally none of them. Who gets a hit in every game? None.
Jordan, exactly. Jordan looks more menacing. Seager more menacing. Harper more menacing. Castellanos this year more menacing. But nobody's been as reliable over the course of an entire postseason as Ketel Marte has been, it seems.
It's almost like for him, it's like you took a math major out of Harvard and then just put him in third grade multiplication and was like, try and complete this test. I even tweeted out, I was like, this seems boring for him right now. Just hit. It's so easy.
Okay, so that's probably the best way to put it. There's something more calming about, like, he seems more, I don't know, just like not fazed by anything. He's not rising, he's not falling. It's just, I'm going to get my 2 hits today. And that's like, Ketel Marte.
It's like a June game against the Pirates on a Wednesday.
Yeah.
It's just going to work, which is incredible because few people on planet Earth can slow the game down like Ketel Marte has done in this World Series so far. Like you see a lot of guys, game speeds up on them. You know, they get a little uncomfortable. It's what happened to Christian Walker, right? You could say it's what happened to Ketel Marte, or excuse me, to Corbin Carroll. Mm-hmm. You could even say it happened to Gabby Moreno outside of a couple of big home runs. Now, to their credit, right? Christian Walker went 3 for 4 in this game. Gabby went 1 for 3 with 2 runs scored. Corbin Carroll went 1 for 4, and now Carroll's hitting 279 in the series. But it's a lot of hits in garbage time, right? Which is not their fault, right? It's not their fault that Miguel Castro came in, right? But I don't know, man. I'm depressed. I want to have bigger takeaways, but like I'm just sitting watching this game.
That's why I did them.
And just all we're hearing about too is like the ratings are terrible. And I was like,
that's my fault too.
I
said the ratings.
Like
I shouldn't have said the ratings.
I was so excited for this series because I was like, it's so different. These two teams, they're so interesting. There's so many cool storylines. You were going through the backstories, and then we get a great game 1. And we're like, holy shit, we were right. This thing is running. Then a 9-1 game. And yeah, Merrill Kelly pitched great. Still 9-1.
Yeah.
And then the next game. Yeah, it was a 2-run game. But we saw Scherzer for 3 innings. We saw John Gray for 3 innings. Then some bullpen guys. And not even the great bullpen guys for the D-backs. Fott pitched okay. 3 runs through 5 1/3. I thought he pitched well, but like... And then we get this shit. It's just depressing. I love the game. And I feel like this World Series is a sour way to end the year. But it's not over. It's not over. Remember, the Phillies beat the D-backs 10-0 in game 2.
Yeah.
They won that series, so it ain't over.
Yeah,
right now I'm depressed.
Let's not eulogize. You can eulogize the game in the 5th, but don't
I'm eulogizing the series so far.
Yes.
Has not been to the level that I thought it was.
And I can sympathize with that. I can empathize with that kind of thing. Takeaway number 3 for Texas. This is the last of the recap takeaways, and then I've got 2 preview takeaways to wrap this thing up. Takeaway number 3 for Texas. Tired, Adolis Garcia. Wired, Wyatt Langford. Inspired, Travis Jankowski. 2024 opening day. I don't need Adolis. I don't need Langford. Give me this guy.
Yeah. I thought that was going to take a wild turn where you're like kind of going to shit on Adolis right now. I was like, whoa, where are we going here? No. I thought you were going to be like, all right, I'll power rank him. Travis Jankowski, Wyatt Langford, then Adolis Garcia.
No, I'm not doing that. It's entirely sarcastic, but Travis Jankowski had a good game, and nice of him to step up when Adolis hits the IL.
Travis Jankowski goes 2 for 4 with a double. 2 RBIs. I mean, that's just the Rangers, the next man up attitude.
Yeah.
Adolis Garcia, Max Scherzer go down. It's like, is the wind out of their sails a little bit? Nope. 11-5. 11-5. Bruce Bochy is such a goat. And I know like he didn't have a huge pull on this game, but like he's gonna win another World Series. I mean, he's amazing. He's amazing.
What was it? It was 10 of 11 postseason series coming into this. He just won. Well, if he wins the World Series, he's going to win 4. So I guess it'd be 14 of his last 15 playoff series that he's managed. He's won. I might be off by 1 or 2 playoff series in there, but I mean, man, come on.
Yeah, everyone's chasing like the 37-year-old who went to Yale and like knows the numbers. And
maybe you just need another toothpick guy.
Yeah, Bruce Bochy just, hey, this guy throws 98. Like, my guys are going to hit.
Got to go to my horse.
And then all the nerds like me are just crying in their basement. No sun in there, dehydrated, not drinking enough water.
Grass this offseason.
I got to touch some grass, dude. I got to go outside. I mean, why am I so depressed?
I
Life
think
is good. No, you know what? I am depressed.
No, I think you just need to limit your screen time when we get into the offseason, or you need to try other stuff. I just watched the Vice documentary earlier today on Bufo, which is the toad poison. You know what I'm talking about?
This podcast is so fucked.
Okay. Preview takeaway. If you want to hear more about Bufo, I'll save that for the offseason. I've got a thing that I'm going to pitch to you and RM in the offseason where you give me 30 seconds on each pod and I just tell you what I'm doing that's like not baseball related. And for me today, it was the Vice documentary on the world's craziest psychedelic. And apparently Eric Andre did it.
No, keep going. I'm not even being sarcastic. Like what? Keep going. I don't. What are we talking about here?
Being sarcastic.
No, I'm literally not being sarcastic. I genuinely want to know because what are we going to recap anymore?
I'm a sucker. We're not recapping
the shit out of the Diamondbacks.
We're not recapping. We're on preview after this. But Bufo, there's a great 35 minute little mini documentary on Vice. I'm a sucker for any Vice content that they put out. And Vice, they dove into the world's craziest psychedelic and the conflict behind it. They just dropped it like 3 days ago. Highly recommend you go watch that. Preview side, Arizona. You have your opportunity to get one of the best pitchers in baseball on the hill as your last breath. If Torey Lovullo had a choice between a fully rested Gallen and a fully rested Merrill Kelly, I think right now he goes Merrill Kelly. Because Kelly is throwing the ball better. And Gallen, it's been an all postseason thing where he hasn't looked like regular season Zach Gallen. But there is something to be said about riding your ace with your last breath. And that's what they're doing. Recency is a hell of a thing. And recency can convince you that Merrill Kelly's the better pitcher. Merrill Kelly's a great pitcher. Zach Gallen's one of the best pitchers in baseball. He's had an underwhelming postseason. And Arizona, if we went back to April 1, May 1, June, July, August, September, October 1, any of those check-ins, who do you want with the ball in a must-win game? The answer is always, always, always Zach Gallen. And Zach Gallen gets the ball in a must-win game. And that should fire them up.
It should fire them up. And, you're going with your best guy. I'm just a little bit worried. Opponent batting average against the Rangers is .277 throughout Gallen's career against their current roster. And he has not pitched well this postseason, but to his credit, he is a demon at Chase Field. This guy had a 3.47 ERA this year. I think he had an ERA under 2.5 at home. This is the best Zach Gallen you should get. But I think we're both sitting here thinking to ourselves, like if Semien is hot, it could be Randy Johnson, Kurt Schilling, those old Arizona pitchers that won them the 2001 World Series. They're just too much. They're too much. So because what is Gallen going to throw a shutout?
No.
Because then you're going to go to bullpen guys like Paul Sewald, former Mariner. I think they know him well. Like, you know what they should do? Start Giggle. Just let Giggle go for 7 innings.
Yeah, no, do the college pitcher thing. Who was what was his name? at Stanford this year, the lefty Quinn Matthews.
Quinn Matthews. 170 pitches. Yeah.
Yeah. Just have Ginkle do that of all people.
Fastball slider.
Sure. Go right ahead. So that should, rile you up. Will Smith, did he just punch out Lawler? No, Lawler walked. Leadoff man aboard.
Okay.
Things are going to start happening.
Arms fired up.
Sure.
Look at that plate discipline arm.
That was the positive way to look at game 5 on Arizona's side. Now the way to look at it on Texas' side. Nathan Eovaldi in a clincher.
Yeah.
My God.
Hey, but he did get hit up by Arizona in the last game. No way he makes an adjustment right and dominates again. No way. Of course he does.
I put popcorn on my grocery list for this morning. Like, I have to. For the sake of the bit, I have to have popcorn while I watch Nathan Eovaldi throw tonight. He will go into a level of kill mode that you saw from him in 2018. And Boston is a hard place for a player to win a fan base over. But guess what Nathan Eovaldi did at like 3 a.m. Eastern in 2018? He won a fan base over. They still love him in Boston. And they lost. Yeah. They lost that game. There's something about this guy in the World Series, man. And you give him a chance to finish it. I think he's just going to freaking finish it.
I don't want this series to end in 5. I'm just rooting for the D-backs now because I just want more baseball. That's all I want. Just more games. I was so excited when both championship series went 7, but I'm rooting against a brick wall. Like, I'm trying to run through steel beams. It's just not going to go well for me rooting for more baseball. Now, who knows, right? Eovaldi did give up runs to the Diamondbacks that one game, which was his worst postseason game ever. And normally he's a guy with an ERA in the low 2s in the playoffs. It's just like that felt like such a deflating win. However, it is bottom 9, runners on first and third, no outs. Maybe the Diamondbacks just win this game. Maybe.
Maybe
is up right now.
Maybe. Leclerc, they just got warming in the pen, so he couldn't. He's physically still there. He mentally checked into the hotel, but he's still there at the ballpark and he's warming up, and you got Will Smith here. All right. We'll see, man.
Do you think the D-backs win tomorrow?
I don't. Ketel Marte just struck out, man.
Yeah, I just struck out.
I don't think they win tomorrow. Unfortunately.
It means they probably win tomorrow.
Yeah. And like, I've been the snakes alive guy.
Yeah.
Damn it.
All
right. You know what? Snakes alive. They win.
Snakes alive. They win game 5. They win game 6 behind Kelly.
And then game 7, we get 18 innings of baseball, and whoever wins, wins. And we wear a Rob Lowe MLB hat.
And we're not rooting against the Rangers, right? Rangers fans, you can win in 7. Just can we see more baseball? That's all I want. I want you Rangers fans to know it's not that I'm rooting against you. I just want more baseball. That's it. So, yeah, I mean, Will Smith, like Diamondbacks, this is the World Series.
Just plug the merch, man. I'll cover our ass. If the Diamondbacks, if they, get 3 across right now and they lose 11-8, here's what I'm going to say. You know what? Great momentum that they built heading into game 5 tonight.
Great momentum.
And if they come back and win, we're in the 9th inning, 2 strikes on Carroll with 1 away. You're not listening to this podcast. Yeah. I'm going to send you a new Zoom link and we're going to do it again.
I just have a feeling that we're not going to do it again. Plug in the merch. Go get your Just Baseball merch, people. I mean, I'm rocking the hat. I look great. My thoughts aren't great, but I look great.
Yeah.
Jack's not wearing the merch because he hates the company.
You look great.
Thank you. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. How about the like button, comment button? We're trying our best here. You know what? Oh, foul ball. And how about rate and review 5 stars?
Punch out 93 center cut. Carroll swings underneath it. What else can you plug to get us to the final?
Just
say thank you, everybody.
No. I am very good at Twitter. You should follow me at PeterApple23. That's Jack_McMullen or McMullen_Jack. It's definitely one of those.
Nope, it's Jack_McMullen 11.
Follow Aram. He's given you a bunch of
No, dude, we got to stop doing this. Bochy's making a pitching change. Leclerc's going to get the final out of the game. We're done. Say thank you, everybody.
And with that, thank you, everybody.